welcome back to another review from you boys, the Buffalo Happy Hour. My name is Derek, and today we are doing Flavier Day 11. If you were here yesterday, you knew that I tried an Irish whiskey, not a fan of. I didn't think that it was worth it, and I couldn't, in good faith, alcoholism, be able to stop during that review because it just wasn't a good review to end on. So I'm doing number 11. If this one's also bad, I'm going to keep going until I'm absolutely blacked out on day 24. So, just kidding. This is my last one. Unless Mike can't come soon, and then I'll be back, but in different clothing, hopefully, in a couple days. So, I'm going to try to go through the same thing. I don't know what any of this whiskey is. Today, we have from the airport EDI. Not sure what EDI is. To be honest, I have no idea what that is. My initial thoughts were Edinburgh, so a Scotch, but Edinburgh, maybe Edinburgh International Airport is what it stands for. If you're not familiar with it, this is the Flavier Advent Calendar. They do it based off of, this is the luggage that it is, and all of the whiskey is a different area. Sometimes they're repetitive, but different area, and they give the airport code on the day to tell you kind of where it's from. I don't know what EDI is. If I was to guess off the top of my head, I would probably say that it's Edinburgh. I think based off of the color of it, I would say that it probably is accurate, that it's probably going to be a Scotch, but we will see how it goes. So, do the normal. I'm not reading anything. I'm not looking at anything. Closing the what's it called there. I'm going to pour it out, see where we're at. All right. Then we're going to hide this bad boy again so we don't know where this is from. And we will do the review after. So, initially, this is very light. So if this is the same product that we had last time, but a different blend, I'm going to lose my mind because that was not good. All right, so this is very young looking. Again, this looks like a product that was probably aged for only 3 years. I didn't get the age statement for the last one, but I would probably assume that it was relatively similar. But I'm going to assume that this is probably going to be along the same lines. Now, Scotch is a little bit different because Scotch and Irish whiskey, yes, is generally very weak colored. But like I was saying, they age it in X casks, which means you're not getting the full impart of the whiskey barrels because it's already been aged in something else. They basically empty it out, scrape off the char, kind of burn it a little bit so it doesn't leak or have holes, and then they just put the whiskey back in so it still gets some of the flavor from the previous product in there. So even though it is light, they'll always be light for the most part unless they were really aged in like a Pedro Ximénez cask, which is a very dark red type of wine. But most of the time it's going to be light. So I'd probably say, again, this is probably 3 to 4 years, maybe 5. Scotch, it has to be required to be aged at least 3, so we got that starting point, but I would probably say no more than 6. But okay, let's try it out. Ooh, okay, so this is definitely Scotch. The funny thing about Scotland is there's 2 main airports there. There's Edinburgh and there's Glasgow. Most of the area, Glasgow's a smaller airport, I'm pretty sure. Not to sound pretentious or anything, but when I was in Scotland, Edinburgh, I believe, is the larger airport. So I don't know if they're classifying everything that is Scotland as EDI. So I'm trying to not have that influence my opinion of like this is Speyside because Edinburgh is on the right side of the country closer to Speyside, whereas they would say GLW. Don't know if that's the airport for Glasgow, but GLW if it was more Highland or Isla. But right off the bat, I'm getting like a very meaty smokiness. I don't know if I would go as far to say peaty. This is more along like the ashy, smoky note instead of peat. But this is not a Speyside product, in my opinion. I think that this is probably going to be more like Campbelltown or Lowlands as opposed to like Speyside Highlands. Maybe Islands, but I don't know. Maybe like a Skye, Isle of Skye or something like that. But I don't think this is Highlands or Speyside. It tastes very, or or it smells very fungally. Smells like sea salt, iodine. You're getting some of the smoky ashiness to it, almost like a burnt sugar cube type thing too. It smells good. A little kind of like a peaty meatiness to it, but like my initial thought when I smelled this was like this smells like a cooked steak, like that type of meatiness to it, which is shocking because this is so light that I wouldn't have expected it to be that kind of meaty, I guess. All right, nose. This is where I'm a little biased because I like Scotch so much. So I would say that for nose, realistically, I'm putting this as a B. This doesn't go to an A because it's lacking some of those fruit-forward notes. And it's replacing it with kind of like this ethanol smoke, which I'm not against, but I would like to have a little bit of fruit in there. But right now, I'm going to go solid B. All right, initial taste. Oh, God. So this is smoky, but it tastes more peaty than smoky now. So I'm definitely going that this is an Islands or Isla product. That's where some of that fruit is coming in. A lot of sweetness coming from like apple, pear, the typical Scotland ripe fruit notes. It's giving me a lot of like candied pear though, a lot of caramelization with this as well, which makes me think that it's been aged in a ex-bourbon cask for the most part. I'm not getting anything. The only thing that I'm a little bit hesitant about is this is so it's so I don't want to say so peaty because it's not like super peaty. This is probably only like 20 ppms, but it is so pear and like almost caramelized peach, like pear note, that it's making me think that it might have a white wine influence. Like if it was an Isla whiskey that was aged in I don't know, like a white wine cask or something like that. I can't think of the one off the top of my head that I'm trying to think of. That was that Oban one. I don't know. I don't remember what it was called. But it wouldn't shock me if this was aged in a white wine cask. But I'm definitely not tasting any red wine influence in this at all. So I'm going to say that it's probably a Isla or an Islands Scotch that is aged maybe 5 years in a bourbon cask. That's my thought. But it's definitely 100% malted barley. You can taste that. You can taste that characteristic of it. It's a very barley and great, like a fresh field type of note to this. That's what I'm getting at least. So this is definitely a single malt Scotch. Initial taste, I'm going to go B+. This is one of my favorite tasting notes. Is that peated but fruity. Ending note, kind of similar, where we talked about it already. I'm still going to go maybe a B+ on that as well. I've definitely had Scotch that's better, but this is very intriguing to me. This is making me salivate. It's staying for quite a long time. Actually, it's staying quite a long time on the top of my palate. It's not traveling very well down my tongue, which is interesting. But I'm probably going to assume that this is probably a 43% ABV, 86 proof, and yeah, I think this is a decent product. Let's see what we got here. I would assume that based off of that, the price of this will be $49.99. That's going to be my assumption. Because it's not deep enough to be a product that is like in that 65 range. I'm going to assume this is probably $45 to $52. And in that situation, I would have this in my collection. So let's take a look. All right, reading the description. Good evening, passengers. We hope you enjoyed your extraordinary Advent journey so far. As we prepare for our next descent, cast your gaze upon Guardbridge, Scotland's rich tapestry of history and craft. So you got the first part right. It is Scotland, home to the heart of Scotch whisky heritage. Below, the River Eden winds its way as a living tribute to Guardbridge, a 15th century six-arched bridge that once linked St. Andrews with its old trading post of Guardbridge, an enduring symbol of connection and tradition, much like the whiskey it inspired. Just like the namesake, the Guardbridge blended malt Scotch whisky, blended malt, okay, brings together single malts from across Scotland, that makes sense, and blends them into a harmonious expression. Expect this sip to as evocative as the golden light on St. Andrew's horizon, often refinement, balance, and the spirit of the region. So this is Eden Mills St. Andrews, the Guardbridge blended malt Scotch whiskey. 46%, 92 proof, so I was close. Blended malt Scotch, Scotland, a unique blend of Highlands and Lowlands single malt, including Eden Mills' own single malt. So it's not Islay or the islands. It is a peated lowland, I would assume. Is there anything here that gives you a little bit more around the peat? Interesting. Okay, so the Guardbridge blended malt Scotch whisky is a masterful union of aged single malts from the Lowlands, Highlands, and Speyside regions, including Eden Mills' own married and ex-Eden Mills single malt casks, so it gives the secondary cask there. Okay. Interesting. So there is no indication of anything coming from Islay, which is shocking. I thought that there was definitely going to be something coming from Islay because there's a little bit of a peat and smokiness to it. But I wasn't as bullish to say that it's definitely coming from Islay because I didn't taste that traditional Islay sea salt peat. I just thought it could have been. But yeah, this is a decent product. Let's look at how much this is. So ending rating, I would give this 85. Let's go 85. Hell yeah. Full price is $55.99. So dead on $55 that we thought it was. It's a decent product. It's affordable for a Scotch. It's well-rounded. When I talk about, again, last week saying that Irish whiskey kind of lacked a lot of that full-bodiness and that kind of difference in taste, that it just blended everything together and said, see you later. That didn't provide me with that willingness to keep drinking it. And with that price point, that made sense. But with this, it gives you more tasting profiles to really hang your hat on. And I think for $55, it's well worth its price. I would have this in my collection. I think that is pretty perfectly positioned. I think I said actually 45 to 52. So it's a little bit higher. I would probably stand by that. I think that if this was, I don't know, what is Glenlivet 12? That's probably around like $50. I think around $50 would probably be pretty consistent with what I would expect this to be. So maybe this is a little bit higher price, but I'm a sucker for Scotch. I'll be honest with you. I'd probably buy this. Would I recommend that you buy it for a price point? Probably, because I think it tastes pretty good. But if this is on sale, this is a hard smash. Go grab it. It's a really good product, and I think that it does a good justice to Scotch whiskey, where it's not overly peaty, but it's also not overly fruity, and it kind of gives you a well-rounded view of what it is. Yeah! I appreciate you if you did tune in today and drank this with me. Cheers, and let me know what you thought in the comments down below. If not, we will see you tomorrow for day 12, where hopefully Mike is back, and if not, and if I'm just here in the same shirt minding business, because I'm not drunk, I promise, and we're just going to keep drinking. I've been pouring a lot of this out. You don't even know. But thank you very much for tuning in. We always recommend drink responsibly, be a good person, and don't litter. We're out.